I can see the wheels falling off on this real quickly by week 3 when the Raider offensive line can't protect Carr. Brown's not getting the ball like he wants to. Gruden pulls a Gruden because he's got 8 years left on his contract, 9 years left on his contract, and when they move to Vegas, he's the marquee. Do you see this unraveling, or do you think that I don't see Antonio Brown having a career year. I just don't.
Yeah, no, I see it unraveling. I saw it unraveling before any of this happened. I mean, I don't think that it required me being any sort of expert either. I think that was back in March. A lot of people were concerned about this fit from the beginning, just because Antonio Brown had shown so many signs that he, first of all, again, on the field was potentially starting to decline, and off the field is problematic. And so, yeah, I mean, I always worried about the dynamics between Brown and John Gruden and Derek Carr. He's a great guy, but regardless, Derek Carr wants to be obviously the man. He should be the man. He's the quarterback. He should be the leader of that team. He's the guy who's returning. And to have Brown kind of come in and take over like this could be problematic, especially when you have Gruden's ego there as well. So I was already concerned. I'm more concerned now. I just think it's, again, you mentioned the $100 million contract, 8 years remaining. Antonio Brown, $50.2 million contract for 3 years. He can't really be released for at least 2 more years. He'd cost them so much money. And so they're sort of married to this now. And it either ends with the Brown thing blowing up before they even go to Vegas, before they relocate, which is just a disaster, or with them playing out the string this way with a guy who's not living up to his contract, who's continuing to cause a scene off the field. I just don't think this is the end of it. Like, I don't know if you guys are, I don't get the feeling this is the final episode with him off the field. It just seems to be a continuous string at this point. Like, it feels like self-sabotage. It feels like there's something not right with the guy. I alluded on Twitter to how I felt about Charlie Sheen when I was watching him unwind back in 2011.
Hey, I had a front row seat for that, pal. I was right there.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, I did the Charlie Sheen tour. I emceed
Oh.
5 of the shows. You want to hear some stories? I can't tell you any of them on the air, okay?
Really? You did 5 of those shows?
Yeah, I emceed 5 of the shows. I played Radio City Music Hall with Charlie Sheen, so I can relate when you say...
Oh, you emceed them?
Yes, I emceed them. After the wheels fell off opening night in Detroit, I jumped up on stage and emceed a bunch of the shows, and then I had to get out of there. Out of there.
Exactly. So you know what I'm getting at more than anything. I mean, you had this feeling when that was happening that it was funny, it was late night TV fodder, and then it was also like unsettling. It was just like, is there something wrong with this guy? And I seriously wonder if there's something wrong with Antonio Brown. It concerns me a bit to watch his antics and the way he's behaved, and the fact that he didn't really behave that way for much of the first decade of his career. He wasn't, he was still a prima donna receiver, and he caused the odd issue, but things have really gotten out of hand in the last, 6 to 8 months, and it concerns me a bit. So obviously beyond that, I'm terrified for the Raiders.
Brad, is Antonio Brown, and I think he has been the best receiver in the National Football League the last few seasons, but the price the Raiders paid to acquire him was just a third and a fifth. Does that make him easier to cut just based on they didn't have to give up a lot to get him?
Yeah, aside from the financial aspect, if you're
Right.
willing to just look at that as a sunk cost, which it is, and move on. But obviously, cutting them now would cost $30.2 million. Cutting them even next year would cost them. That's just in dead cap. It would cost them another $15.2 million. So financially, the thing they gave up a lot here was the money. Of course, the return on the trade was borderline comical for a guy who's a 7-time Pro Bowler, pretty much in his prime. But the financial aspect, that would make it real hard to swallow. It's the PR hit they would take is, I think, what would scare the Raiders as much as anything. Because I think that this move, along with the Gruden move, along with keeping Derek Carr, along with even considering Kyler Murray and Dwayne Haskins, in terms of the rumors we heard leading into the draft, I think a lot of that has had to do with the fact that this franchise is trying to redeem itself before it heads to Vegas and have a new image when it arrives there. And to have this blow up, or to have the Gruden situation blow up before they even get there, before they make that move, would be, a big problem for the organization.
Yeah, I can't imagine that this is going to turn out any way other than poorly for the Raiders. They're one of those teams so far in the Gruden era where they've done nothing but make mistakes. You lose Khalil Mack, you lose Amari Cooper. Huh?